Chinese ships were once again spotted sailing in different areas around the country, with another one of their vessels attempting to block the BRP Cabra off the coast of Zambales. And now the Philippine Navy is convinced that the underwater drones recovered in various areas came from Chinese vessels. Brian Castillo with the story.
This Chinese ship was spotted by the crew of the Philippine Coast Guard's BRP Cabra past 10:30 a.m. on Monday. That time, BRP Cabra was patrolling along Capon Grande in Zambales when the Chinese vessel approached them.
The China Coast Guard vessel 21612. This is Philippine Coast Guard vessel BRP Cabra.
At one point, according to the PCG, the Chinese Coast Guard ship tried to block the BRP Cabra, but eventually sailed away.
36 nautical miles from Capon Grande, Zambales, Philippines.
Meanwhile, over at Itbayat, Batanes, the PCG flew its plane to monitor another Chinese research vessel spotted sailing in the area. The PCG repeatedly tried to radio the vessel, but the calls were ignored. These incidents have the Philippine Navy convinced that the underwater drones recovered in some areas in the country came from Chinese vessels, such as the one recovered in Pasukin, Ilocos Norte last July 2022, and the ones from Calayan Island and in Itao, Misamis Oriental last year.
Indicators would point with a likelihood of 55 to 80% these were made in China.
The Navy pointed out that aside from parts made by Chinese tech companies, one drone even had a Chinese SIM card.
They have the capability to receive, to process, to store, and to transmit. Based on the technical study of the forensics of the SIM card, the last contact that it had was in mainland China.
These submersible drones allegedly gathered data on the sea's depth, salinity, temperature, and sound range. But the Navy said these can also be used for military operations.
So conducting information gathering of the underwater terrain is an essential step for undersea warfare.
The Philippines has consistently protested China's incursions into its exclusive economic zone, an area Beijing claims, even though it's much further away from it. But yesterday, April 14, Google Maps formally marked the ocean west of the country as the West Philippine Sea, sending social media cheering. The armed forces naturally also welcomed this inclusion, saying it affirms international recognition of the country's sovereign rights, as upheld by the 2016 arbitral ruling under UNCLOS. It was nearly 13 years ago, in 2012, when former President Noynoy Aquino issued Administrative Order No. 29, naming maritime areas on the western side of the nation as West Philippine Sea. At the same time, Manila initiated an arbitration process protesting Beijing's claims in almost the entire South China Sea. 4 years later, the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague invalidated China's dash line claims. But to this day, China remains defiant. For News 5, Brian Castillo, we are One News.